Good morning, everybody. It's the Morning Vibe. I'm Dr. Vibe, and there's Ryan Oneil Knight there. What's going on, Ryan? Morning. It's April 16th. What's going on? You are on mute, my friend.
Yeah.
There we go.
I'm going to get a t-shirt that says that. You are on mute.
You are on mute. What's going on? How you doing this morning?
No, things are excellent. I feel re-energized. We had a session yesterday about with CMHC. So for those that may have bought a house, you will know CMHC does the insurance stuff. What you might not know is that CMHC also funds developments. So we did a session about all their funding opportunities for our developers, our Black contractors to start building our own buildings. We talk about we need affordable housing. We can build it ourselves. There's over $26 billion that the federal government has allocated for affordable housing. The money is out there. Let's go get it and build our own stuff.
Well, the question also is the process easy and manageable to go through all that stuff?
But that's the thing. It isn't. So that's why we did a specific call out to them to say, we need you to come and explain this, because there's been programs that have come and gone and Black contractors, Black developers have missed it. Mm-hmm. And again, there's two paths that you can take. You can say, hey, complain and say, oh, why aren't you guys talking to us? Or we can ask and say, explain it. So I don't think anybody had been asking for them to explain it. So now we got like their attention. This session was more the overview info session. And then the next one is going to be a workshop specifically on any of the programs that our developers are interested in. So that's where I'm really excited to see what we go forward with next.
Well, that's good stuff. So bringing people to the table, educating them, and getting them ready for wins, correct?
Boom, exactly.
All right, good.
Big money wins. Ain't playing. No, we're not playing around.
You're not playing around. And how's the house stuff? How's the house searching on your end?
Okay, we have to put that on.
All right. You know, it's ironic you mentioned the house thing, because I was reading a story yesterday that the average price for a house now in Canada is almost like $800,000 now.
Oh man! And you're getting a 1+ den shoebox.
Wow. Well, you know what? Let's forget about the house stuff. We've got another special guest here, so I'll leave the introduction to yourself.
Much appreciated. Yes. So I was actually going through old footage, and our guest presented at our first ever ACBN Legacy Symposium. And it's funny because at that event, he had a stiff neck, and this morning I have a stiff neck. So Andrew Bromfield from Formative Innovations talked to us about what technology trends are coming up, how to keep ahead of the trend, why we should be paying attention. And today we really wanted to bring him on to talk about the hidden potential of us Black entrepreneurs and why we don't have to go out and just beg for opportunities. We can actually create our own opportunities. So glad to have you here, Andrew.
Morning.
Good morning, Andrew. How you been?
I've been good. Great to be here. Thank you.
Good. Just a quick, for our worldwide viewers, can you just give a little quick background about yourself?
Sure. So again, Andrew Bromfield, grew up here in Toronto, started a company called Formative Innovations 16 years ago. Prior to that, when I left Ryerson University, I worked in the tech field in the startup. So this was in the heydays of startups, where everything about it was new in terms of even having video games and a vending machines and whatnot in an office space. That was just completely new. And so that's where I came up, and I left there after a few years, went over to PricewaterhouseCoopers in the management consulting space, advisory, especially in the area of technology solutions and the rollout of new technology solutions, specifically telecommunications was where I was mostly positioned, and here in Canada as well as in the United States. In fact, I spent most of my time working in the United States. And then I founded Formative Innovations, which basically fused together the business advisory and the technology solution. So, one of the things was when I was at PricewaterhouseCoopers, we we did a lot of advisory, and so we tabled reports. And I wanted to actually build the solutions that we were recommending. So I left, started Formative, so that we could both provide the business advisory and then actually build what we were advising on.
Good stuff. Go ahead, Ryan.
And what would you say Formative's superpower is? Because I know, like you're saying, like you were working at one of the big five consulting firms, but then you spun off and started your own. So what would you say, like, why would people come to Formative when they're looking for the software solutions?
I think we just, one of my taglines on LinkedIn is I'm bilingual, fluently bilingual in business and tech, right?
Okay.
And so even though I'm 16 years in, I'll never take off my developer hat, right? I still engineer software, right? And doing that, I mean, this field moves so fast. You go away for 2 weeks and come back, you're obsolete, right? This is how fast it moves. So it's hard to manage this kind of an organization if you are removed from the actual doing for quite some time. And the other thing I always say is that makers are innovators, right? Those who innovate actually create, right? It's very hard to innovate if you're not involved in the creation process, right? So I think that's what we do best, is that when we're talking and we're advising clients from the standpoint of how do we hit your business goals, how do we get you that return on investment, simultaneously is the business goals and the technical implementation spinning at the exact same time. There's no disconnect, right?
Right.
So I would say that, yeah.
Yeah, because I'm curious about now with the advancements of tech and what you're seeing, and I'm curious if there's any trends. Because the last time when you spoke, and this was in 2019, you were showing us like the digital twin and things that I didn't even know was possible. I'm curious what you're seeing now, before we get into the talk of Black entrepreneurs, but just tech in general. What are you seeing that we should be aware of?
It's funny because in a way things are still moving quickly, but everything is kind of paused, right? So really, this pandemic, what it did was you had industries that were outpacing others when it came to digital adoption, but the pandemic said, "Hey, everybody's got to get on this digital wave now, right?" And so I think that this last year has just been a lot of catch up for firms, companies, pivoting and being able to support remote work, being able to process transactions online, e-commerce. So I think, although all that stuff is still happening with artificial intelligence and machine learning and you got the block, all that stuff is still happening, but it was almost like this year was a catch-up year for the organizations that were lagging behind.
Interesting.
Okay. So today we're talking about the hidden potential of Black entrepreneurs. I want to get some context. How has compare the marketplace for Black entrepreneurs now compared to when you started as an entrepreneur?
You know what? That's a good question, and I would say sadly, it's not much different, right? So when I started 16 years ago, and going to trade shows and whatnot, which again is kind of out of the question right now, but there were very few, especially in tech, that were attending these different conferences and whatnot. So you'd have these conferences with 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 tech professionals and entrepreneurs in these giant auditoriums at the Metro Convention Center or whatnot, and there was just a handful of us, right? 3 or 4, maybe 5. And the last couple I've attended, like I went down, I think it was 2019. I was down at the Gartner Security Conference, which was a big conference for cybersecurity professionals. 7,000 were in attendance, and this was down at National Harbor in the Washington D.C. area. And if you've ever been to National Harbor, it's like a city unto itself. It just blew my mind how big this conference center was, and like I said, 7,000. And unfortunately, and again, cybersecurity is one of the leading areas of tech. There's no shortage of demand. It's like foolproof for a long ways out. And again, there is maybe in that 7,000 that I saw, and I'm not joking. There was probably about 15 of us, and one of them was my cousin, and and the other ones we would acknowledge each other because we keep seeing each other. But I
Mm,
was blown away. I was like, how can this be that there's not more of us at a conference? And again, conferences isn't the only indicator of our participation, but it is a pretty good indicator that if the numbers are that stark, there's a problem, right? And so again, it goes back to when I started this. Obviously I had some more flexibility with my time, and I would participate in the Toronto Children's Breakfast Club. So I'd go down to like Cedarbrae and Scarborough and some other schools in the morning and cook breakfast and talk to the students, right? And when they would find out that I was in tech, and again, nobody assumes that because I'm 6'5". So when I hear I'm in technology and I develop software, it's like, huh? And then I heard the straight comments like, I love computers, but I'm not good at it or whatnot. So right there, I knew that there was a confidence issue. And in my own story, and I've said it a number of times, is that when I wanted to pursue computer science in high school, they tried hard to stream me away from that, right? Like it was obvious. Like it's not even. It's so obvious, right? And what helped prevent that from happening were my parents were really engaged, and they're like, "There's no way in hell that's happening," right? And in fact, I actually quit playing basketball to focus on school, just to get those marks even higher, so they couldn't come after me. So fast forward, I still see that same reluctance. We're still talking about the same issues in terms of trying to get young Black men and women or boys and girls into this field and whatnot. So, sadly, the issues still remain, right? But what I will say is that you'll hear all these different ways of the future being described and what economy we're in. But really and truly, this is the idea economy, right? Like where we are right now is pure creativity, right? And who better to excel in this era than our youth, right? And that's what I tell them all the time is like naturally setting trends, naturally creative, and smart, right? And so the sad thing is the missing confidence piece. And if we can get that instilled, I think there's huge potential going forward.
and I'm curious to get your thoughts on. So you see, like you've been in the game for like 16 years, and even through school, you were going towards like computer science, and you were seeing those kind of roadblocks. What now, based on your experience, what would be a plan of action to get more youth into technology and into computer science, being that they have the creativity, but they might not have the confidence for computer science?
Right. So it's focusing them on the fact that in the technology field, like most fields, there's so many different roles. So a lot of people think you just gotta have straight math, right? But you can make a ton of money, like a lot of money in cybersecurity, play a big role in startups if you were in the cybersecurity field. But not only that, I mean, software development. There's so many different avenues of it. There's now DevOps, and these aren't they have a variety of skill requirements, and I know that our youth can fit in any of them. The thing about math, and I think everybody will agree that at one point was struggling with math, and then for whatever reason they've figured out the profession they want to go into requires math. They were able to excel in it, right? And again, it's like if someone tells you you're not good at something, or that's what the narrative is, you start to believe it, right? But
True.
if you can break that, and my motivation was I needed to get into university to do what I wanted to do, I started excelling in math, and I was mad because I was like, how come I didn't pick this up like this in grade 9, right? Why wasn't I killing
Right.
it all along, right? And so that's again what I try to tell you young people. And so that whole point, like I said, when I'm bilingual and business and tech. Tech is just the execution. It's not the be all and end all, right? And so that's what the other
Exactly.
thing I preach is like, listen, it's just like any other field. You have architects who have a vision of what this thing should look like, right? And they put it down on paper, and people use that then to build that vision, right? And technology
Yes.
is the exact same, right? And the unique thing about technology though is if you have those skill sets, the barrier of entry to business in this field is dramatically reduced, right? Because you can absorb a lot of the labor costs yourself, right? And the thing about
Yes.
technology as we go in the future is that you can do a lot more with less, right? So, like for example, the last time I checked WhatsApp, you know, you know how many user WhatsApp supports and whatnot. The last time I checked, they had 50 employees, right? And they could probably even cut that. If you look at the different companies and how many employees they have to support that tech, it's really low because you
Right.
can do so much more with less with the technology tools that we have today. It's a totally different game in that sense.
Okay. We're going to take a quick little break because
Yeah,
Andrew is dropping so many knowledge bombs. We need a little bit of a break. And we're just
sure.
going to have a little bit of a spot here from ACBN. So we'll be back in just a moment, folks.
Hi, my name is Ryan Oneil Knight, the founder of Detailing Knights and one of the founding members of ACBN Canada. Our vision is to help unite and educate Afrocentric entrepreneurs so they can grow their businesses in a successful and sustainable way. We're helping businesses increase their sales and operations by providing networking, training, and consulting. So as a business owner myself, I found it difficult to find like-minded individuals, especially in my own community, that were doing things on a regular basis to help our businesses grow. ACBN Canada is that solution. We've created this community to surround your business with support to help you increase your sales and your profits. With expert workshops and masterminds to help keep you accountable, come and join us and really get to the next level.
Love that spot.
We are back and talking with Andrew Bromfield about Black entrepreneurship and hidden potential. Andrew, you mentioned how things have changed over the time. Let's focus over the last year or plus the pandemic time. Are you seeing more of that hidden potential coming out?
Yeah, I mean, again, my purview is technology, right?
Yep.
And so we become incredibly busy because of the pandemic, right? And so it's weird because I feel guilty that our business has spiked in this time, given I'm in an office building where so many lights are out, right? But what it did was it forced, again, a lot of companies and governments to rapidly adopt technology, like rapidly, right? And so everything that came flying at us had some ridiculous timeline attached to it.
Right.
I even got into health trouble because of how hard I was working.
Right.
And I had to reprioritize, right? And which is a lot harder than what I just said or how I just said it. But so I think for certain obviously for certain industries, the pandemic helped the business, and for others, it dramatically hurt it, right? And I feel so bad for those because it's hard enough. Ryan will know to build a business over a decade or whatnot, and then through absolutely no fault of your own, this happens and and delivers some hard blows,
Yeah,
right?
just uprooted.
I can't tell you how my heart aches for those entrepreneurs.
And then we have chats now and then about the response. So yes, black entrepreneurs in general have been really well, a few uprooted, others gravitated and have pivoted. So what has been your thoughts on the government response? And we've sat on different roundtables where they're trying to create programs for black entrepreneurs. How do you feel like that's I guess the uptake of those programs or what could be done differently?
Okay, so I don't make friends when I say what I'm about to say, right?
Okay, so that's
And
why
like,
Ryan likes you. All
and
right.
like, and like Malcolm X says, I'm not here to tell you what you want to hear, right? Like, and for some people, it's fine. It doesn't impact them either way. But for me, this narrative arose that linked entrepreneurship to charity or victimhood, right?
Hmm.
And it was born out of not only the pandemic, but the murder of George Floyd, right? And so I sat on these calls, or I look at the terminology and whatnot. I see like law firms doing like a pass the cap around the office to raise 70K for some black, business or whatnot. And to me, you got to be careful because the blood of an organization as a business is revenue, right? It's not debt. It's not even grants. It's all right. It's revenue, right? Don't get me wrong. Grants and whatnot help you to capitalize, help you to build the capabilities you need to go get that revenue. But I would say that the focus has to be on generating revenue because that's what's going to sustain you. And there's two ways to generate revenue. You build the capabilities, you offer the service that is in demand, and then the second part of it, as we know with government, is you've got to get that past record of performance. And this is what I've been advocating for everyone is like, if you want to help, if you genuinely want to help, then you have to give us opportunities to start building up that past record of performance so that when we go to government and they say, we want to see 3 projects that you did that are just like this, you've got them, right? That is key. If you don't get that, and here's the difference between the experience as a Black entrepreneur is from myself and my peers and others, right? Especially in the professional services realm in these firms, whether it's a law firm, whether it's a tech firm, whatever it is. Every other colleague that I have from a different community, their base revenue comes from their community, right? So if they're Greek, 80% comes from the Greek community. If they're Asian, you know what I'm saying, right? So
Yep.
Yes.
and for Black organizations, especially professional services firm, the opposite is true, right? Where 80% comes from outside the community, 20% comes from the community, right? And I think that's the biggest challenge that Black entrepreneurs face. And so a lot of times they've got to figure out, how do we appeal outside of the community and get into those other revenue opportunities with other communities, and it's not easy, right? And there's a lot of stereotypes. I told you I'm 6'5". In the beginning, even now at 43 years old, people ask me, how come you didn't play basketball? Like, I just walk down to the ATC and say, give me number 25. That's my jersey, right? So yeah.
So what's some solutions of changing that 80-20 in the Black environment? Because if you look at it, on average, we don't make as much
Right.
as those other communities. We don't have on average as much disposable income. So how can we flip that 80-20 that you just talked about in the Black environment when it comes to Black entrepreneurs and revenue?
I think a lot of it comes down to strategic partnerships and leveraging networks. A lot of times, and this is one good thing that came out of the pandemic, was for whatever reason, my circle of Black businesses increased tenfold this past year. And we all had the same mindset. We came together in a way that I don't know if it would have happened without this pandemic. And now we're functioning as a group, as a collective, right? And I think that is the key going forward, is to be able to work together, patronize each other, and I mean it just has to happen. Like, we don't have another opportunity. Before the pandemic, I would be saying things like, with AI and machine learning, right? If you have a 500-person firm and this new technology comes out that can reduce 500 people to 200 people. 300 people are let go because this AI widget can do that job, right? If we don't own that company, how are we going to be one of the 200 remaining, right? If I have an organization that is 90% my people and I've got to reduce it, my people are remaining, right? And I can't blame any group for thinking that way or acting that way, because that's just how we work as humans, right? So I think this right now, this time, although entrepreneurship is hard, I think it's something that we have to embark. We have to encourage young. We got some young people that have incredibly credible averages in school and whatnot, and we just want them to go that whole traditional route and go work for someone, instead of how do we turn them into entrepreneurs? How do we take those 3 students that are naturally bonding anyway, who have like a 96% average, and train them to be entrepreneurs? Not even train them, give them the mindset to be an entrepreneur, then give them the support so that we are giving them their first record of past performance jobs, right? Right off the bat, right? We're bringing them into deals with the companies that we spent all this time building relationships, right? But if we, as business owners, Black business owners, are afraid to do that, we are in big trouble, big trouble.
And that's so key too, because if we see the talent, and again, a lot of the different initiatives that have come out have talked about, we need to get more Black youth into internships and into boards, and then Black execs into board seats. And it's like taking the cream of the crop from our community and placing them into established
100%.
blue chip, where we could take that cream of the crop, get them to develop their own formative innovations or what have you, their own company. They'd be providing that same service that they'd be doing as an intern at PwC, but now they've started their own thing, have that same quality, and working for entrepreneurs in the community that need that consultancy. And now they have a record of work and they just keep growing. Like, that's what I'm not seeing with any of these initiatives, is how do you fast track us getting into business ownership? And how do we fast track ownership and having our talent and owning our talent? And have you seen anything in your journeys that's matching that? Because I'm not seeing it either.
No. I know there's some organizations like yours who are working on it, right? But I think it's critical. And like I said, this is I always, and this is going to be like a nerdy reference, but I always fashion it back to there's a scene in Terminator 1 where Sarah O'Connor is at a playground and the kids are playing, and she knows that the Judgment Day is coming, the atomic bomb's going to hit, and she's on the chain link fence and she's rattling it, trying to get the kids' attention. That's me. That's how I felt for the last decade where this stuff is concerned. And that, hey, we got to wake up. Downtown Toronto is not going to look like it does today 10 years from now. There's a lot of changes that are coming. And we can't be naive to think that it's moving at a slow pace. It's moving at a blistering pace. I say I'm a spy. I'm at boardroom tables with big companies, and I come back and I say, hey, this stuff's no joke, right? This is what's happening, right? And we've got to move quicker, right? And to your point, we've got to take that talent and we've got to say, don't be afraid, especially if we can provide you with the supports in terms of revenue and jobs right off the bat. Come try it. If you have the natural propensity, because again, if you're afraid of risk and whatnot, I'll never encourage you to come on this side, right?
Yep.
But if you already have a propensity to it, you have the resilience. I think we're one of the strongest people emotionally, mentally to cope with this and creatively to deliver. So again, if I see that potential, I will do whatever I can to groom it. And so will the peers of Black business owners that I know. They'll do the same thing. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm in the mindset that if I have 2 candidates, one has 100% skill set and 75% passion, and the other one has 100% passion and 75% skill set, I'm taking the person that has 100% passion and the 75% skill set, because passion, if you've got the passion, you're going to go through those highs and those lows, and through that resilience of being an entrepreneur. So I fully agree with what you just shared with us.
And a quick tip is when I hire developers, I don't care what you have on your resume in terms of skills. I'll ask you things like, what's your setup at home? And if I hear you have a kick-ass setup, 3 24-inch monitors and you're doing this, like you said, Dr. Vibe, you got the passion, you invest in yourself, boom, you're in, right? And if I develop you and after 2 years you say, Andrew, I'm going to go off and do my own thing, I'll support you 100%.
There you go. Exactly.
That's a success.
That's a success. Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. If I can't contain you, I'm going to support you. Go.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a fool that way, that I'll ask the candidate, what's your future goal? Because I want to know how I can help you reach the goal. And if that candidate tells you, I can support, they're going to buy into what I'm doing because they know that I have vested interest in their future.
Right. Absolutely.
Good stuff. Ryan.
Well, I don't know. I want to put this on your shoulders, but if you could create that dream program, what would it look like? So you're going into a high school and you're saying, I am going to execute this for the students here. What would that program be that you're going to plug them into? I don't know if you ever thought of something like that to build from scratch.
It's a day in the life job shadowing an entrepreneur. So some of the programs that I've been a part of where we're mentoring young Black youth, some of the parents have asked me, hey, is it okay if my son or daughter comes and works with you for the day? And they sit right beside me at my desk. They see, they hear, and they get to know what this is, right? And so one thing I'm very open about, again, transferring whatever knowledge I can. These young people are a lot smarter than we give them credit for.
Oh, they're smart.
When you take off the lid, man, they know everything. Everything that I would say, when I'm looking at technology and its impact on the workforce, they know it. They know it. They can tell you. I had one mentee say, "Hey, Andrew, we're not dumb, eh? We know that if we go to Cineplex Odeon, right? We know that to buy a ticket is all digitized, right? The only thing that's not digitized at the theater is the concession stand because that's where they make the most money." This is a grade 12 student telling me this. You know what I mean? So they see it, right? And they don't really talk about it until you get them engaged. But if you take those students and you bring them in and show them, not as an intern doing support or whatnot, but you bring them up at this level and say, this is what this entails. I think a lot of, it's funny because even for me, I was looking in the beginning at Black entrepreneurs that I can identify with and I could connect with they look like, just like you said in that spot, they look like you. And hopefully if they're supportive of you, you're going to gain so much, right? Because our experience is different. If you go to, I'm not going to call out any names, but if you go to those big incubators and whatnot, their perspective is you're going to get $300K investment from your parents. That's your seed capital, your friends and family.
Right.
Their point of view is so off.
It's a totally different path.
Totally. So to receive mentorship from them and guidance is irrelevant for most of us. Totally irrelevant. Right. And
again, they keep saying have you gotten, they expect you to have that already, or in your back pocket. Now you're ready, go get the money. And you're like, but I don't have that.
Right, and like I said, it's the seed money, and then it's the access to the work, right? So it comes back to my 80-20 rule. If everyone else can get 80% of their revenue from their community, we're in a different game, right? And so our strategy and tactics have to be completely different, and that's why this has to come from entrepreneurs in the Black community, in my personal belief. I can't come from anyone else because they don't know that. It's like trying to explain systemic racism to people who aren't affected. You could talk to your blue in your face. If you don't do it, you won't know it, right?
And they keep just having that glazed, confused look while you're talking. And you're just like, okay, I think I'll just move on. But it's interesting because I usually try not to reference the George Floyd incident, but that was the only thing that removed the glaze, it seemed. Where now, when a person calls me and I say, listen, these are the different bottlenecks that Black entrepreneurs are facing, there's no glaze anymore. They're like, oh, okay, so what do we need to do to solve that? And then I can lay down different solutions or options or things that I've been thinking of that before when I present them, and especially to different levels of government, it was always you'd get the pat on the head, don't worry, we're working on it, be patient. Now I feel like because maybe it's because they know I'll do press releases and press conferences now.
Right.
And our progress, I was talking earlier when we just started about our progress with CMHC, the Canadian Mortgage Housing Corporation, and having a conversation with their inner staff about access to the money that already exists. I don't need a Black entrepreneurship or Black developer program, although that would be great. We could pilot that, but just explain to us the current process. You just haven't taken the time to say, hey, people that are in the Black community that we are serving, like a lot of the Black residents are in affordable housing. Why aren't they building their own houses? Because if they're part of that process, that's actually the ripple effect. They're going to not stay in affordable housing. They're going to be able to graduate out. But it's like those concepts and ideas, I feel like when they were coming from the Black community before, were just being dismissed. And so now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're done. Well, we could go on forever.
But, of course,
and no problem. Well, Andrew, before we let you go, any final words you'd like to share with our audience?
I think that it's been a tough year, right? It's been there's been so many different changes that have come at us. It's lasted a lot longer than anybody thought, right? I remember last year this time people saying, "Oh, by June we're good." And
it's still going on.
It's still going on, right? So I again, I would say that the key, you can reach out to me. I think my information is available. But if you're thinking of getting into business, if you have a business and you're trying to expand it, let's talk. Like, let's just keep building this network and leveraging our creative talents and perspectives to help each other out. Even if we're in a different line of business completely, let's think together how we can enhance it, right? Again, going forward is the customer experience, right? The customer experience is so key. There's a digital component now to that customer experience in most cases, not all, but most. How do we take your ideas and your creative vision and come up with ways to execute it in a way that you can capture not only your community, but outside your community customer base, expand it, right?
All right.
100%.
Well, you can get a hold of Andrew at formative.ca. And Andrew, again, it's been a while, but I'm glad to see, outside of that little health challenge that you had, and we're glad that you overcame that you, from the time I met you, you've kept the passion to want to see the Black environment move forward in a positive manner. So thank you so much for sharing your time with us today.
Thank you.
Much appreciated.
All right.
No, it's been a pleasure.
Thank
Excellent.
you. Ryan. There we go. You got it. I didn't know he's one of your renegades. I see.
He gave us the blueprint. He said,
man,
follow an entrepreneur. That take your kid to work day. We need to pair them up with some entrepreneurs so we can find which ones have that passion that you're talking about, that might not have the confidence. And if they see what the day in the life is like and we give them work, that'll increase their confidence. So, hey, I'm down to start. I started taking some notes on how to blueprint that concept.
Nice. What do you have planned for your weekend?
We also, tomorrow, Saturday, we're doing our Black Boys Code session. For those that don't know, I'm the chapter leader in Brampton. So we have about 30 Black boys between 8 and 17. But I think this one is 8 to 13 because we're learning about microbit. And yeah, we have 2 sessions. So this Saturday and next Saturday, we're always looking for entrepreneurs. So if you're a Black male, techie, non-techie, but want to be a mentor, please reach out. And we'd love to have as much support as possible. And for your kids, please stay tuned. Reach out if your kids would be interested in learning technology and coding. Black Boys Codes happens every month, twice a month.
Fabulous. Are you going to get any rest?
Yeah, man. Today is light. I'm starting to take Fridays lighter. So we do the show. And that's why Thursdays are typically packed, because I'm always purposeful not to book things on Fridays. So I'm like, okay, I'll fit it in somewhere on Thursday. But yeah, Fridays are going to be family time.
Good. Fantastic. And again, it's a big message we have for all our viewers around the world. Take some time for yourself. And if you have family, take some time for your family. It's very, very important, especially as an entrepreneur. You need to, as I say, if you follow car racing, there's a race called the Indianapolis 500. I always tell people, how many drivers finish on 1 tank of gas?
Right.
You have to go in and get your pit stop, refuel, oil change, get new tires. So it's very valuable. to do that. We will see you on Monday. And look, we're hoping that speaking of that, you have a good weekend. And remember to give yourselves grace. Take care, everybody. Have a good one. Be well.
Later.